Hi, this is Nicole with Cutting Edge Crafts, and I'm really excited to bring to you my very first Inkscape tutorial video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to manually trace an image, so let's open up Inkscape and jump in. Please be respectful of other people's work and only use images that you have the rights to use. I'm going to open up my File tab and import an image. I'm using this floral image that I found online. It's a public domain image. I'm just going to go ahead and center this image in my workspace. If you hit the 5 key, it'll center it to the middle of your screen. And then I'm going to go ahead and come and turn off my grid lines because I don't want to be snapping to my grid lines. So if you have those turned on, it's probably helpful to go ahead and turn them off at this point. I'm going to be working with the Bezier line tool. And all I'm going to be doing is coming in and selecting all of the sharp corners that go around the edge of my image. We're going to go ahead and modify the lines around it later so that they match the curves of the flower petals. But right now, all I'm looking for is those sharp corners. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that really quickly here and select all of my corners all the way around until I have a loop around the entire image. Once you finish that loop, we're going to go ahead and start tugging on these lines so that they match the curve that we see around our image. As you see, as I start to drag on the line, you get these blue little lines off of the nodes. With a little grip on the end, and you can push and pull on that line. You can also grab the grips on the ends of those lines and just kind of adjust the way that the curve is falling until it matches the curve that you want to match. You can see here I was able to pull that back so that it matches my curve just perfectly. You can do some pretty complicated curves, which is why we only needed to select those little corners. So I'm going to go ahead and go around this image and adjust all of these curves as well really quickly. You're going to see here in a second that there's one of these curves that it wasn't really lining up the way that I wanted it to with just those two corner nodes. So as I drag it up, I go ahead and I double click right in the middle of the line, and it adds an extra little node that I can place on that kind of wonky corner there. That it's not really a corner, it's just sticking up a little bit more than it was going to be easy to adjust. And I do it for the next 3 of these petals here, and that's a call that you're just going to have to make as you go around if you're not able to get the adjustment that you want as you work your way around. See, that was pretty easy. So now all I'm going to do is come over here and select my fill and stroke, and I'm going to apply a fill to my image just so I can see what that outline is going to look like. And if you were to import it into Design Space right now, this is what it would look like. It would just be that outline. At this point, it's probably a really good idea to save your work, so I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly, and then we're going to move on to how you are going to add all of the color into the image. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and turn the fill back off so that I just have the outline again. And I'm going to grab the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to make a little rectangle, and I'm going to move it so that it kind of roughly encloses all of the green leaf area on the left side of this picture. And then I'm going to change my object to a path because rectangles are objects, so they don't have all the nodes that you can adjust. Changing it to a path lets us adjust the nodes. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add nodes wherever there's corners on that pink flower. Basically the same concept that we did going around the whole image, except I'm double clicking on that line that's crossing and adding nodes where it makes sense that we would have corners that are touching the green leaves. And so I'm going to go all the way across, and I'm basically making this little line where I'm going to slice those leaves off. You're going to see me drag this one line off so that it's not overlapping the green or the pink because I don't want to slice into any of that with that cut line. Basically anywhere that the top line that we're adjusting lies, it's going to slice into the image below it. So you're going to see me drag the curves around just like we did for the outline image, and I'm going to get those all where I like them, get them nice and adjusted here. And now that we have all of that lying pretty much where we like it, I'm going to go ahead and get those nodes that are really close to each other on the base image and that top cut line, and I'm just going to align them to each other. You don't necessarily have to do this step. I'm just kind of being nitpicky here, so if you want this to be like a nice smooth transition, you'll want to do this, but it's not going to hurt too much if you skip that step. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of my outlines, and I'm going to come up to the path tool and I'm going to select division. And that is going to slice that leaf right off. So you can see better what I did here. I'm going to come over to fill and stroke, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the fill back on for those leaves so you can see the leaf that it kind of sliced off. And I'll turn the fill back on to the rest of the image here in a second so that you can see what the rest of it kind of looks like. And you can see that that's it's sliced the leaves off. There's a nice clean line between them. They match up perfectly. Okay, so now I'm basically going to repeat this process for the rest of my image, slicing off all the pieces that kind of make sense to do. You may be asking yourself at this point, why would I want to do this rather than just using the trace bitmap option that Inkscape has built in? The trace bitmap is a really useful tool. A lot of times you get really nice clean results depending on how many colors you get. But I've found that if you have colors that are really close together, or if you just have a lot of colors, you can kind of get a mess as it starts to try to either stack layers or find the divisions. You'll kind of get these weird outlines all around the edges of all of the colors that it's kind of pulling other pieces of colors to try to fill in where the image isn't giving it a really clean distinction between colors. And so you're going to have to end up going back in if you use that and kind of clean that up anyway. And I just find that this method kind of gives you a little bit more control over exactly where all of those curves fall. You get a better cut with your machine too, because it doesn't have all of these weird miscellaneous nodes that you have to mess with. So really it's going to have to be a call on your part on which method makes more sense for the image that you're working with. But I find that when the image is fairly complex, like this one where there's just a lot of different colors, some of the colors are very close together, you're going to get a better result if you kind of just trace over it by hand. Okay, so I'm just going to let the rest of this video kind of play out at an increased speed so you can see the rest of my editing. you're going to see me kind of turning on and off my fill on the different parts that I slice off, just checking my work as I go along, and making sure that everything is the way that I like it. When it was all said and done, this image took me about an hour to trace by hand. So it doesn't take a terribly long time, but it is going to take you a little bit of effort, and especially at the beginning when you're just learning how to do everything, it may take you a little bit longer. But I feel that it's really well worth the effort that you put into it to get a nice clean image that you know is going to cut well on your machine. So I would love to hear any questions that you have on anything that you see in this video in the comments. And I would also love to know if you have any other suggestions for tutorials that you would like to see in the future. So towards the end of this video, you're going to see me making a couple of edits to the leaves where I just kind of am taking artistic license and making it look the way that I want it to look. And that's also one of the advantages, I think, of this technique, is that you're not limited to just what you see in the image. You can kind of mess with things and you can play with it and you can make it your own. So if you like what you saw here today, please subscribe to my channel, and you can also visit me on at my website at cuttingedgecrafts.com. And I've got links there that you can also follow me on Facebook so that you can keep up to date with any other tutorials that I release, and any other cool tips and tricks that I've got on my blog. Thanks for stopping by.